I've said it repeatedly in the last year. We don't deserve Eddie Kingston. The fact that he is currently on TV weekly and beloved worldwide by the audience tuning in will never get old to me. He's recently seen even new strides of love for his article he penned that laid out bare his entire lifelong struggle with mental illness. And his high-profile match against CM Punk at AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view last weekend was for many the match of the show. I've been an Eddie Kingston diehard fan since I saw his promo on NWA Power, where he talked about the legendary homicide saving him from killing himself. The raw reality of his promo and his character, if you want to call it that, is what drew me in. His passion and intensity can be felt through the screen by the audience watching him. Eddie Kingston has been an indie favorite for the last decade or so from his work in Chikara, Ring of Honor, Impact, but at 37, Eddie was contemplating retirement after burning bridges with promoters and garnering himself a reputation of being difficult to work with. He knew he wasn't going to get a shot from the bigger companies, and he was planning on moving to Alaska. It was his brother who convinced him to stay for the sake of Eddie's nephew. Then, the global bitch hit. The indies, much like most of the world, shut down and went into lockdown. Eddie Kingston was still wrestling in the UK when everything shut down and spent all of his money he had made working there to get back to the US. He had to sell his wrestling boots to make mortgage payments and had plans to move back in with his parents. It was around this time he got a call from Danny DeMonto at ICW No Holds Barred and asked him to fight in New Jersey. Eddie thought this would be his last match ever and took the fight out of pure desperation. For his opponent, however, this was a dream match. Brett Ison has been a mainstay in Tennessee and Southern U.S. wrestling for the past few years. He reigned as Southern Underground Pro's Bone Storm champion for 366 days. A massive, intimidating brawler with brutal power and raw strength, Ison has also the ability to fly like a cruiserweight when needed. Much like Eddie Kingston, he has a Japanese strong style influence and it shines through in his offense. He is also one of the founding members of KOBK crew, consisting of Akira, Lutha, Hardway Heater, and one of the best commentators in wrestling right now, Mose. This crew means more than just a wrestling storyline to the men in it. To quote Mose, KOBK grew from Brett Ison wanting to evolve from the Pitbull. He uses it as an explanation of how he's lived and wrestled. Always kill or be killed. It organically grew from that to a group name. We've all been through shit in our lives separately that made those letters mean something more to us. For Brett Ison, this fight with Eddie Kingston was a dream match. ICW No Holds Barred had Ison on their radar for ages, and knowing how much it meant to fight Kingston made it even better for them. ICW No Holds Barred was hit by the global bitch like the rest of us. No shows, no money to be made while the world went into lockdown. Danny D'Amato, owner of ICW No Holds Barred, knew there had to be shows to be put on despite restrictions, saying, "The early COVID shows were always filled with obstacles, but I knew I had to give the fans and wrestlers something." Thus was born the Deathmatch Drive-In, where fans could watch live wrestling from the insides of their car in keeping with the regulations. The chains were set up for July 4th of 2020 in Millville, New Jersey. The Eddie Kingston-Brett Ison match was announced in June, and from those who knew the two, they knew this was going to be a firefight. For Danny DeMonto, it was a chance to bring in Eddie Kingston and help out a fellow wrestler, saying, "COVID was affecting all of us at the time. I didn't know how much it was hurting Eddie mentally and financially, but he's always been one of my favorite people to work with in wrestling." The hype and scale of this match was summed up perfectly in a video made by Mose himself.
Let me tell you a story. A story about a stray dog with all the bite. So much bite that he draws the attention of a young pup who also has that bite. Hardened by the countless battles, the stray dog becomes the Mad King. Someone of near mythical legend that doesn't need a company. His independence reigns supreme. Along the way, the pup also grows. He grows into the pit bull. Using the same bite that was nurtured by watching the stray dog's journey, he becomes a pillar of Tennessee wrestling. Through his proverbial 500 fights, the pit bull is seen through a new light. He fights, and they chant, "Human shotgun." Tonight, the two men who have been intertwined, even if both didn't realize it, finally do what they were put on this planet to do. They stand across from each other, not as hero and admirer, but as competitors. When the bell rings, all that's left to do is fight, partner.
Even despite a last-minute venue change, the show went on as planned. From the start, it's apparent that these two men are mirrors of each other in terms of wrestling style and influence, even down to the dog demeanor they both embody, with commentary referring to Eddie Kingston as the stray dog and Brett Ison being the strong-style pit bull. From the first lockup, you can tell this is going to be an intense fight. Both men struggle for dominance with eye-raking and face-washing abound. but neither man gains advantage. Then they engage in the first of many striking exchanges in this match, with Eddie crumbling to the mat after a particularly stiff strike. Ison is younger and could be the harder hitter, but Eddie is a battle-tough veteran who refuses to quit. Eddie remains defiant despite taking the best of Ison's shot, telling Brett to "come on, motherfucker." He even bites Ison's ear at one point, truly living up to the stray dog persona. But Brett Ison puts him down with a hard right hand directly on Kingston's jaw. The heavy-handed Ison gains the advantage early on, and it's the veteran Eddie Kingston who is forced to adapt to Ison's power, including a nasty-looking double boot scrape. But Kingston remains defiant, refusing to stay down, face-grabbing Ison at one point, throwing hard chops, and throwing rapid-fire combination strikes in response to Ison's heavy strikes. He even brings Ison down to a knee with these rapid-fire strikes. Brett Ison has a laser accuracy with those massive forearms of his, and lands them with brutal force and precision throughout this match. Even after eating some hard strikes, Kingston rallies and throws an exploder suplex and STO sweep on a running Ison. He misses his spinning back fist finisher and gets suplexed for his troubles by the powerful Ison. At this point, Eddie looks beaten up, but he steadfastly refuses to stay on the mat or let Ison go unchallenged, which leads to this spot, which looks pulled straight from the King's Road of All Japan Wrestling in the early 90s.
If that doesn't encapsulate this fight, huge strike to the face. Ooh, maybe he rocked him. Two-piece. Big chop.
I don't think he did anything more than irritate him at first, but now Kingston able to stay on the offensive here until those forearms come
Elbow
in.
strikes. Rolling elbow. Saito. But look at Eddie roll up to his feet. Big enziguri. Knee strike.
Eddie rolls out of the ring to avoid the pinfall and forces Ison to retrieve him from the outside. Ison is in complete control and looks like he's ready to put the finishing shots on Kingston when the Mad King lands a spinning counter back fist, but like earlier, Ison rolls out of the ring to avoid a pinfall attempt. After another stiff strike exchange which Ison gets the better of thanks to his brutal forearm, he makes a pinfall attempt but only gets a 2 count. Ison then attempts his finisher, Street Justice, but Eddie counters this with 2 backdrop drivers which only gets a 2 count. Eddie signals for the spinning back fist that Ison ducks, but Eddie spins again and catches Ison in the back of the head with another back fist for the 3 count. I think this match is unjustly overlooked because of what preceded the match. This is an example of what I consider to be American strong style. These two told a fantastic story from start to finish and elevated each other in the process, while also beating the absolute piss out of each other with some very stiff strikes and slams. Eddie grabbed a mic and after threatening and shutting up a ringside heckler, proceeded to call out 3 major wrestling stars. Zack Sabre Jr. of New Japan fame, Cody Rhodes, who at the time was the AEW TNT champion, who had issued an open challenge to any and all competitors for his title, and Nick Aldis, at the time the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, which Eddie rightfully calls the most prestigious championship in all of pro wrestling. He decries them and major wrestling stars at large for being phonies and actors who can't fight for real. I simply can't do this promo justice. It has to be seen in its entirety. I'll put a link in the video description, but the thing that stuck out most to me from this promo was not the calling them out, but this.
When I turn into TV every week, all I see is shit. I'm a fucking G and an outlaw, and I hang out with G's and outlaws. This is real. This is real. Nothing else is real. You're all fucking actors. Me and my crew will fuck you up for real.
Pro wrestling isn't a work to Eddie Kingston. It's as real as it gets because he is as real as it gets. Cody Rhodes ended up seeing the promo and brought Eddie Kingston into AEW to challenge for the title, and the rest, as they say, is history for Eddie Kingston. For Brett Ison, this match elevated his status on the indie scene. He appeared in ICW No Holds Barred again. He even participated in the Battle of the Tough Guys tournament. Unfortunately, in September this year, Brett announced that he would be stepping away from wrestling indefinitely due to injuries he's accumulated. Before he does, though, he's appearing in ICW No Holds Barred The Pit 6 tomorrow night, and No Holds Barred Volume 20 Saturday night. Both events are being live streamed on IWTV, and I highly recommend getting a subscription. It's literally the best $10 a month you can spend as a wrestling fan. I highly recommend checking out these last 2 fights because he is fighting some 2 hardcore motherfuckers who can throw down. Please check out Brett Ison's merch page and support him in his recovery and hopeful return. If this truly is the end, I just want to personally thank Brett for all he's contributed, and it was an honor to see him compete. I just wish I could have seen him do it in person. I want to give a big shout out to Danny DeMonto and Mose for their help in putting together this video and answering all my questions. Follow both of them on Instagram and Twitter. Thank you for tuning in, and if you've made it this far, please like and subscribe.